Every country has its legends, and in America, the biggest legends are about the Old West. The West was America's frontier, where men of iron took their destiny into their hands and carved a country out of the wilderness, risking their lives for the things that made this country great. Of course, they never could have done it without this kind of entertainment. Disneyland's Golden Horseshoe Revue is a modern reminder of how the West was fun. Thanks to a dedicated group of performers, the show has been going strong for 30 years. So kick the dust off your boots, park your guns at the door, and step backstage to the legendary Golden Horseshoe Revue in the Disney Family Album.
Howdy, folks.
Walt Disney loved the Old West. It was one of his favorite movie settings. So it was only natural that when he was building Disneyland in the early 1950s, Walt wanted to recreate life in the West. Visitors to Frontierland would find gunslingers slinging, Indians whooping, and mine trains clanging through a replica of the Painted Desert. Another of Disney's great loves was vaudeville. As a young man in Kansas City, he performed with local vaudevillians even before he made his first cartoon. And so vaudeville came to life in the Golden Horseshoe Saloon in a stage show inspired by Disney's cartoon, Pecos Bill. Pecos Bill came to life in the person of Wally Boag.
You want to see my fast draw?
Yeah!
Want to see it again?
Wally was with the show from opening day in 1955 until 1982. Irish tenor Fulton Burley has been with the Horseshoe for 23 years.
Who was that pickle I saw you with last night?
That was no pickle.
That was my fife.
For these two vaudevillians, the entertainment is automatic.
How did I get started at the Golden Horseshoe? Well, it was in June in 1955. And a friend of mine, Donald Novus, had just signed a contract with Walt Disney to open a little vaudeville show at a place called Disneyland. It's going to open next month, July 17th. And he says he's looking for a comic, and I've been working with Donald for 2 years in Australia. And so I had an audition for Walt Disney. With an empty stage out there at the studio. I brought in a little bag. I had the bagpipes and the ventriloquist doll, and I did a little eccentric dancing, and let's see, I told some jokes, and I did a routine with balloon animals, you know. I had a little gimmick when I was first on the road working as master of ceremonies and talking a bit, and I started a little thing during the Second World War. You remember that? It was in all the newspapers you might have heard about inflation. Now, inflation is very unique, but I worked out a way as a psychiatrist. That's why I have the beard now when I do club dates. You can tell people's personality by the way they blow up a balloon.
You mean you didn't lose your razor?
Not really, no. You see, the average person would blow a balloon like that, and then we have the straightforward person. They would get something... That's a straightforward type, you see. Now, some people are a little backwards, not like Fulton. The backward type, naturally, they would get something... That's a backward type. Did you see that? Oh, years of study and self-denial, that's all. Here's a scatterbrain. Their mind jumps around a bit. Their balloon would do the same thing. There's somebody with something on their mind, you see. We'll get rid of this right now. Now, to get the message, you have the person wrap up all of these thoughts and put them all together, and you find out something more about them. I've made quite a name for myself doing this, and I don't like it either.
But, I don't blame you.
But this is one of the reasons Steve Martin really enjoyed me, because when I first started with Steve, he was about 12 years old and used him on a few shows. And he picked up on some of these and made some fantastic hats with balloons, but I started with an elephant looking something like that.
Oh, it's nothing, I can tell by the applause. Now, let's, Nothing. I had a little French poodle. I had to sell my dog. He ran in front of a streetcar and it cut off his tail. I sold him wholesale. I couldn't retail him. Well, perhaps you're right. Here's a nervous type. They're afraid to blow a balloon too hard. They leave about that much, then they cheat. They give it that. I didn't do anything. Contact. There we are, right there. We'll just wrap up all of these thoughts now. Nerve-wracking, isn't it? And see what we have here. Oh, I think we see you. Hi there. What's your name there, huh? Well, come on up here. I'll give you a souvenir to take home. Hi. What's your name? You got a name?
Yeah.
What is it? That's a good name. I like that. How old are you?
5.
5? You married yet? No, you look happy. I can see that. What's your favorite kind of dog, No Name?
Hot dog.
Thanks for coming up, and I'll see you later. Remember my name, Wally Boag. You'll be reading about me in the newspapers. I smoke in bed.
It was just Walt looking at me the whole time, you know. After it was all over, he says, well, we're opening a little park out in Anaheim. It's going to be a family show. So I said, well, okay, Walt, I can clean the act up. And so I did, and I signed a 2-week contract, and 27 years later, I retired.
Well, opening day, to me, I had, up to that, I've been 20 years in vaudeville. Of course, I was only 34 then. As a matter of fact, I still am 34, around the waist. But I had done 20 years of vaudeville, and most jobs were a 2-week to 4-week engagement. So it was nothing unusual for me to sign a 2-week contract. Well, of course, they were still laying asphalt behind our theater, and we had no air conditioning, and the girls lost a few shoes trying to get their high heels through the asphalt the first couple of days. And as I say, there was no air conditioning, and we had so many salt tablets, I was afraid to look back at a friend, you know. We got through with it all right. It was exciting. And of course, the television show, The Spectacular, was on. In those days, what you got is what you saw, and it was very exciting to try to get all those remotes going together in that year. It was in black and white, too. You remember that? But we were all very excited, and we knew that some dream was happening, and it was really going to bring forth a new type of show business. As I say, it was that way for years. Just everyone in the park knew each other, whether you drove the horses or just... It was like a club, a private club. Just delightful. And Wall, of course, was right there leading everyone. You see him all over the park. Well, I started in the business as a hoofer. Now, a hoofer is basically a tap dancer. I also did flip-flops and aerial butterflies, and I almost killed myself is what I did. Oh, it's so hot in here today. What'd you expect, feathers? This is a Hollywood convertible. And he looks so young. I heard you, madam. All together now. Well, a vaudeville entertainer is a person who can walk in front of an audience, and almost any audience, and entertain them for a fast 10 minutes. In other words, it's something he's perfected maybe over many years. And the fact he does it the same every time is perfection.
Fulton Burley came to Frontierland in 1962 with a sparkle in his eye, an Irish melody on his lips, and an ear for dialects.
Walt loved the dialects. He used to catch me when I come in. We were doing Tiki Room and...
Oh, we did the Tiki Room.
Yeah.
Buenos dias, senor and senoritas.
Yes, no, sir.
Yeah. Stop squawking while I'm Jose. I forgot about
yes?
that.
Yeah. I do. You stick with me, I'll remind you of all of
You're
these
a good
things.
kid.
And Walt would say, he'd fire at me with going, do Hindu. And I can't tell you, I've been over in England for 4 years now, going to school. Then I had to go back to Calcutta. And the thing.
You're in Jewel in the Crown. I saw you.
Yes, you have me pinpointed.
Yeah.
And anyway, he would say, and he loved Brummagem from Birmingham, like the Beatles. He'd say, do the Beatles. I'd say, hello, love, come on over, smashing, nice to see thee. Please, Ringo, don't play so loud, and things like that. And the Scotsman thing, so that evolved in so many ways with these dialects we did, and I still didn't get to do them at Disneyland. Well, Wally and I were first at a studio, how we got to know one another. It's called MGM.
Muggum.
Muggum, of course. The latter part of the 40s.
Thank you.
And then, of course, we all went away because they dropped all their contract players. And I was doing nightclubs and such. Wally came in here. Matter of fact, I came out the day the press was here before it opened.
That's right,
to see you up in the room.
Yeah.
And then 7 years passed, and Donald Novus, the fellow that Wally was mentioning, got quite ill, and his voice was going on him. So Wally phoned me, and I said, all right, I'll come down and try, but I do a nightclub act in the
Here we
basement.
go again.
And Wally said, no, do the eye bit and the whole thing, and things you used to do on the fairs for the kids with a thing over and back again, whatever, and all the sounds. And I said, can I do the dialects? He said, no, I'm not sure. We don't use the dialects here. And they asked me, that was the 21st of March,
Yeah.
1962, and I got
Right. And you kept saying, how could you be here and doing this for 7 years? How many years have you been here now?
23.
Right.
Come this
so,
March.
See, right.
And anyway, they signed me for a 2-week contract, or was it that the contract was 2 weeks?
It was 2 weeks
It's
at the
either one.
Mr. Fulton Burley.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you. One big question, is everybody happy? That's what we like to hear. Now we get down to business. Well, I think what Wally has said so many times, and why he said that he wanted me to come down and be in the show in the first place, is because I did so much of comedy besides the singing. Now, Clancy was a peaceful man, if you know what I mean. The count picked up the pieces after Clancy left the scene. He never started trouble, that's a fact you can assume. And nevertheless went over with breast Clancy lowered a boom. Harder Clancy, hey, that Clancy. Whenever they got his Irish up, Clancy lowered the boom, 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 boom. That guy in the back, when you look at me, no personal opinions. It's boom, 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 not boom, boom, boom. Give him another shot. Give him a chaser.
I think one of the unique things about you, and I hope myself too, is that we have the ability of making it look like every show is the first time. And now, people have said this about us, but I don't feel it. I just feel like that's the show and we're going to do it, and the audience is always great. But evidently this is sometimes a problem with people. But that's one of our uniqueness I think we have.
Yeah, matter of fact, we had Lucille Ball come in so many times, and that was one of the things she said. She said that she had such a rough time after 6 months on the New York stage that she could hardly bear to go back again and do another show. And she said to do it as many years as you people have, and 5 a day to get yourself up for it, you truly must love it. It's more that I hate digging ditches.
I know, it's so true, yeah. Good bartender, though.
Wally Boag brought Pecos Bill to life. But who really put the life in Pecos Bill? Why, it was a little gal named Slewfoot Sue. And there's a lot of life in Sue, especially the way Betty Taylor plays her.
We are proud to introduce Miss Betty Taylor. Hello, everybody from Maine to California. This is the Golden Horseshoe. The show was mighty spicy. We thought we ought to warn you. April, June, and January. Who's the guy we're gonna marry? If you are a stranger,
I've been in the business since I was 12 years old. I worked with Les Brown, Henry Bussey, and Red Nichols. And I also went up to Las Vegas and worked with Frank Sinatra, which was quite a thrill for me. I was a production singer. And then I worked with the Sons of Pioneers, the original ones, on a TV radio show for 4 years. And then they called and asked if I wouldn't come out here and audition. And I says, well, who wants to work at Disneyland? And so finally I came out here, and it's been the nicest job I have ever had in my life.
Yes, gentlemen, I want you all to know I'm looking for a big city beau. Wonder if he's up in the balcony. Where is he? Hello there, sweetheart. Look at all the honey, you're a little young, but you'll grow up.
Oh, I like going out in the audience and talking to the people and the little kids. And when I talk to the little kids, I always ask them their names and if they'll and ask them how old they are. 3 years old. Oh, that's just a little too young for me. But I tell you what, why don't you give me a call when you get a little older? Say about 4. Okay, Nathan? Good. I find a bald-headed man to work with, and I get along just great with their wives and with them, and we just have fun out there. And that's the thing. I tell my understudies, have fun. Oh, looky what I found. A little boy all grown up. Hello there, sweetheart. Hi there. Are you having fun at Disneyland? You're trying. Oh, I can tell you're having fun. You're just a ball of fire, aren't you, sweetheart? Now tell me, do you know what you have here? You've got yourself a gem, haven't you? And look what else you got. Oh, you got yourself a little pet rock up here, not you? 29 years. I'm going on 29 years. And they hired me for 4 weeks. And then they signed me up permanent 1956, October 29th. And time has gone so fast.
Walt Disney had once again created the chemistry for a hit show. A 1963 television special celebrated the Golden Horseshoe's 10,000th performance, and Walt looked every bit the successful saloon keeper.
Howdy, folks. I'm glad you all could be with us for the 10,000th performance of the Golden Horseshoe Revue here in Frontierland in Disneyland. Now, for this special occasion, we call it the Augmented Golden Horseshoe Revue. And that's because, in addition to our usual stars, Wally Boag and Betty Taylor, we have some special guest stars. Now, we got a real rootin', tootin', shootin' show. And I've got my table reserved for you. So, right over that away and through those little bitty old doors and tell them Walt sent you.
I emceed the whole show for an hour, and I couldn't believe I was going to do it. He said he wanted me to do this and this and this. I said, I'm not an actress. I said, I can't do that. He says, you'll get plenty of help. So I enjoyed it so much. I just was thrilled to death, and I got to work with Ed Wynn. God love him.
There you are.
A dressing room.
Yes, yes. Always carry it with me because I never know when I'm going to be called upon, just like now up here. But I'm always hoping. Tell you what we'll do. Let us change our costumes, and I'll meet you out here.
Well, all right.
What took you so long? Say, this is ridiculous. Something went wrong.
It sure did.
Well, you know, I haven't used this thing for so long. You know, now let me see. Never happened to me before, you know.
Picture me upon your knee, just tea for two and two for tea, me for you and you for me alone.
One of the Golden Horseshoe's best customers was the owner.
Walt Disney really adored this show because Walt had produced animations and films, but he never done a stage show before. So he loved the Golden Horseshoe Revue, and he'd show up all the time, and he always brought a party. You never know who's going to show up. That's Walt's box right over there. You see, one day he shows up.
Matter of fact, when he came in a harbor gate, they would phone over here immediately, and then no one would be put in Walt's box because we knew he'd be here sometime during the day.
Once Walt's in the park, that box is steading for him. And he'd just walk around the park, and most people didn't know it was Walt, but I would see him. I remember when I met him one day between shows, I was out walking. He says, I'm going to put a mountain there. I'm going to put a ski lift ride right through it. It's going to go right over there. At that time, they had just a lot of dirt there, and a guy was doing trick shooting with throwing up money or something. He loved to stop and talk to you about the park.
Don't you remember what they said? They'd watch Walt go around, and everything was building so much, and he wanted to do so much and so much all the time, and it filled him to say, you'd see him off maybe 100 feet from you, and if Walt went like that, that was $1 million.
Yeah.
If Walt stood back and went like this,
his brother had
That
a
was
nightmare.
5 million, and Roy started to shiver. But if Walt went like that, everybody started to perspire, because that was at least 15 million.
Yeah.
Every time I see a picture of him or anybody wants to talk about him, I get a little sentimental. I say, uh-oh, start to tear up, you know, because he was such a great man. I wish all the young kids here today could have met him. He was wonderful.
Frontierland has had many changes over the years. Mine trains have become runaway roller coasters, and stagecoach and mule rides are now extinct. But the Golden Horseshoe lives on. In 1974, the saloon singer, the comic, and the Irish tenor appeared together for the 25,000th time.
All together now, I just got off stagecoach from Chicago, silk and steamboat to St. Louis. Hope you like the things I had to tell you, because I just finished.
In vaudeville, they have a saying, he's a hard act to follow. Wally Boag was. When he retired from the Horseshoe in 1982, the saloon had lost its star. But there's another vaudeville saying, the show must go on. And thanks to Dick Hardwick, it did.
Just introduce yourself.
My name is Dick Hardwick. My father was an old Indian fighter.
What was your mother?
An old Indian.
Working with the audience is probably one of my greatest assets, because I try to make each show look like I just came up with the stuff on the spot for the people that are there. And I do a lot of Indiana jokes because I'm from Indiana, so I write jokes about Indiana.
See, I'm from Indiana. Anybody here from Indiana? You from Indiana? What street? No, where are you from in Indiana? LaPorte. I'm from Greencastle. Ever heard of that? Yeah, it's a land of opportunity if you're a tractor.
You have people that don't speak English from all over the country. So how do you get these people to laugh? So one of my gags was always to use some fake teeth, see? You put these in, people go, I got an uncle looks like that. So I always try to pick out somebody and not make fun of where they're from, but call attention to where they're from. And there's lots of great places out in the Midwest. San Bernardino, that's Arizona, Colorado, Ohio, and of course Kentucky.
How about Kentucky? Kind of gives a whole new meaning to the word four-wheel drive. I was going down the street the other day in my car. I guess I was going a little too fast. You know, a policeman pulled me over. He came up to the window, so I slipped these teeth in and looked at him and went, I don't even know where I am. He goes, go on, you're from Kentucky. Here, you can have them back now, pal.
Well, I can remember when I was a kid, anybody that even lived in California, they were a movie star. Even if they lived in San Bernardino, we didn't know. So not only do I live in California, but I work at Disneyland, which is probably the most recognizable name to anybody in the Midwest besides Beatrice. Well, Wally Boag created Pecos Bill, or actually it was created in the cartoon, but Wally took the character and turned it into something really wild and funny. And the thing that he did with it was so good that it was hard to mess with that.
Well, when he caught them crooked villains, why, he knocked out all their villains. And that is why there's gold in them bar hills.
And when they started singing the lyrics of Pecos Bill, I just started working some of the old shtick that I did in vaudeville. For instance, I once did a scene in a musical comedy where I was beaten up by some character, and I spit out a couple of beans for teeth. Those were big lima beans. I used to hold 4 in my mouth and got a big laugh.
I took the bean spitting routine and tried to turn it into something of my own, so I do a lot more. Like I can practice with the beans, and I can hit people with the beans, and I spit them up into the air and catch one in my mouth and stuff. And so I've tried to turn that into my own too. And then Wally twirled the guns real good, so he taught me how to throw them up over my back, and he loaned me a gun a long time ago to go home and throw it over on, and when it would fall, it would land on the bed, and rather than my toe or whatever. And finally, I learned how to twirl the guns pretty good. So all of his routines were really so funny that I use a lot of them, but I've tried to make the part my own by using certain lines and different looks and all. Of course, Wally can remove his hair at the end of his show, which is kind of tough for me to do.
Yeah, I tell you what's fun, though, is how many comics I've trained and worked with over the years. Now we have Tokyo in Florida and here in the Horseshoe, the Diamond Horseshoe there and the Golden Horseshoe here. And I really get a kick out coming watching the comics and see all the little bits that each comic has added, that I've added, that they've taken and they've thrown out. And so it's just great to see that it just carries on year after year with new comics and things that you teach.
Yeah.
We have certain uniqueness they can't get, but they have their own.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes.
The show has gone on. 5 shows a day, over 2,000 shows a year for 30 years, keeping the legend of the Old West and early vaudeville alive.
Well, the Golden Horseshoe, after almost 27 years, is so much a part of my life that I could never forget it.
And I'll never forget Wally when the day that he retired, and I hadn't auditioned yet. I had to sub for somebody in the Horseshoe, and I said, "Well, what am I going to wear, Wally? You're going to be gone." And I walked into my dressing room, which was across the hall now, and there was his coat hanging with a sign on it that said, "Take good care of my coat, Dick. Wally."
The Golden Horseshoe has turned vaudeville's one-night stand into a 30-year run. It's the kind of show that keeps audiences coming back for more because it's classic Disney entertainment. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest-running stage show in history. In 1985, the show celebrates its 50,000th performance. The legend of the Golden Horseshoe Revue has spread from the Old West to the world.